Am I the antagonist for not letting my stepchild eat the last of one of my child's safe foods? My son, 6 years old, is autistic and he is nonverbal with a lot of sensory issues. He has very restrictive eating habits and his list of safe foods is very limited, which is something being worked on with a feeding therapist, but he's struggling through feeding therapy and is not yet at a point where he has many options. In his safe foods are a specific brand of roast potatoes, a type of fruit cups, and one type of chicken bites. Very rarely he will eat something else, so we always do our best to have those safe foods on hand and in good supply. But the chicken bites have been unavailable for the last 3 weeks, and for the last 2 weeks we had some financial issues after some trouble with our house. This meant we did not have as much to spend on groceries last week, and because of this, I was extra vigilant about making sure the safe foods were secure for my son, especially because he doesn't eat a lot, regardless, so it's important he has something available for him. My stepdaughter, 16 years old, saw the last of the chicken bites and wanted them for herself. I told her she couldn't have them because her brother needed them. We were running low on other stuff, and I needed everything to keep us going until my husband got paid again. My stepdaughter said she didn't care and she wanted them and should have them. I refused to let her have them and offered her something else instead. She complained that she wanted nothing else, and I told her she can eat something else but her brother cannot. When my husband got home, he backed up my decision and my stepdaughter was so upset. She told my husband's parents and then they were upset. They said I should have let her eat them and encouraged my son to eat something different instead of making her find something else. That she's old enough to get to choose what she eats. They also said I made her hate us more, me and her 2 siblings. My stepdaughter also told her maternal grandparents. Her mom passed away while I was pregnant with my son, and they were furious and said I have no right to stop her, and how dare we act like she gives a care about my kids, eating or not eating. My stepdaughter has been especially angry since, and I sat her down and apologized if I upset her by saying no, and she told me I didn't have the right to stop her because I'm not her parent, and she doesn't care if my kids starve. We're nothing to her. She told my husband's parents I had tried to talk to her and they rubbed it in more. My husband was upset with his parents and he's still on my side. But I feel so worn down by this. Am I the asshole? Am I the antagonist? You are not the asshole in this situation. It's understandable that you prioritize your son's specific dietary needs and limited food options, especially given his sensory issues. Your stepdaughter's reaction seems to stem from a place of frustration, but it's important to continue open communication and understanding within your family dynamics. Am I the antagonist for not going out of my way to tell my father's child about doctor's appointments after he has been nothing but disrespectful to me? Am I the asshole? I, 29 years old female, and my child's dad, 32 years old male, have a very tumultuous relationship. I had a beautiful boy with this man, and he has done nothing but make me miserable throughout my pregnancy and even now. We have had custody battles and ultimately we are 50-50, but I'm primary. So I'm a single mom, working full-time, and the sole provider for my child as he has not contributed much since he was born. We have had communication issues naturally, but I try and keep him in the loop about important things like how he's doing in school, his health, etc. I usually tell him when doctor's appointments are, and most of the time, he either doesn't respond or just doesn't show up. A month ago, he actually showed up to one of the appointments where the doctor stated that due to our son not speaking as many words as he should, she was going to refer him to a speech therapist. She did a month ago, and I made the appointment, which was recently. I did not tell him when the appointment was because 1. He did not ask for a whole month about it or follow up, and 2. I had other things on my mind. I didn't really think to message him to tell him about an important appointment for his child that he did not express interest in. I messaged him the day of the appointment to let him know of the findings, in which he proceeded to become angry with me, stating that I'm withholding important information from him, I don't want to involve him in his health and safety, I'm hiding things from him, and that I pretty much want total control over our son's care. I then made him aware that I am only responsible for our son and our son only. I'm not there to make him responsible for his son. He did not message once to follow up on the appointment, and most of the time doesn't show up to these said appointments, so why is he so mad now? I have put effort into co-parenting with much resistance, and this is just another added thing. I feel like as a father who attended the doctor's visit, he should have been proactive in finding out and following up to see if these important appointments were made. I just need to know, am I the asshole? IDOWorkHereLady. It sounds like you have been handling a lot on your plate as a single parent, and it's understandable that you may have overlooked informing him about the appointment. However, communication is key in co-parenting, so it might be beneficial to find a way to improve that aspect moving forward to avoid any misunderstandings in the future. Am I the antagonist for not allowing treats to be brought in by my ex-partner for our child, unless treats are also brought for my other child? I, 34 years old female, am a single mother to 2 children, 10 years old female, and 6 years old male. They have different fathers, with my daughter being the child of my late husband, who died when she was 2 years old. I fully admit that I was not ready for a new relationship when I met the father of my son, and it's what led to our relationship falling apart, though we tried to make it work. My ex-partner, 37 years old male, and I had been separated for 2 years. It was rough in the early days of our separation, but for the most part, things are fine now, except for an issue I've had recently. Lately, every visit my ex-partner will bring our son treats, be it a McDonald's Happy Meal, some crisps and juice, a pastry, basically anything junk food related as a treat, because I'm usually quite strict about the children getting those regularly. This wouldn't be an issue except for the fact it's only our son who gets these treats, and my daughter has to see the man who was a major part of her life for so long all but ignore her now. I've spoken to my ex-partner and made it clear that unless he brings treats for my daughter too, he can't bring any treats for our son into the house. What he does when he takes him out is between them, but this isn't fair to do in front of her. I also made it clear I don't expect him to spend his own money on her, as at the end of the day she isn't his child, but just to text me before he arrives to let me know what he's bringing, so I can send him money to get her the same. I really don't care that she'd think they're from him, I just hate her feeling ignored. He thinks I'm being ridiculous and should just buy her treats myself if I want to do that. That she isn't entitled to get the same things as our son, and this would only hurt our son. That isn't the point, and I feel like he's missing it. I don't think I'm in the wrong here. All he has to do is pretend to be the one giving it to her, and it feels cruel to me that he won't even go along with that. Maybe I'm too focused on my daughter to see the bigger picture, and I'm being unreasonable. So am I the a-hole? You are not the jerk here. It's understandable that you want both your children to feel equally loved and included by their father figure, even if they are not biologically his. It's important for your ex-partner to show consideration and empathy towards your daughter's feelings, even if it means a small gesture like bringing treats for her as well. Am I the antagonist for banning my parents from a family event because they don't like my brother's wife? So my 30-year-old female little brother is 23. I have another brother that's 20, but this is about the 23-year-old who I will call Blake. A few months ago, Blake eloped with his girlfriend Shay, 19-year-old female. Our parents and my 3 sisters, Mary 22 and Sarah 25, were livid, like unusually angry. I was a little confused, but I spoke to him, and to me, it seemed like he and his girlfriend loved each other very much and just made the rash decision to elope in Vegas. We live about 3 hours from Vegas, so it's a popular day trip destination, so they were there for the day and eloped. Like, yeah, it was a little silly, but I don't understand why they're so angry about it. Blake and Shay didn't even tell anyone about their marriage until 2 months later. Blake and Shay are a very wholesome and, dare I say, perfect couple. They very obviously love each other, live together and split the bills, both study very good degrees, and have 2 cats. I've always said you can't put a timeline on life if they want to do marriage earlier than usual. Who cares? My parents have made a point to not invite Shay to any family events since. They'll call up Blake and say, "Don't bring your girlfriend." They refuse to acknowledge the marriage. Blake came the first 2 times they did this but left very early, and he's always politely declined all invitations since then. I've tried to tell my parents that they are pushing Blake away, and soon they can expect to never hear from him again, but they don't seem to care. They take every opportunity to insult Shay, even though they used to love her before the elopement. It's my son's birthday soon, and I'm planning a big party. I sent the guest list in a family group chat, and my parents saw that Shay was invited. They demanded that she's taken off, but I refused. They were acting in a way that made me suspect they were going to make a scene there, so I banned them. I don't want them to isolate my younger brother, and he hasn't been to any family events since he got married besides the 2 he left early. They are infuriated. They are threatening to show up anyway and think I have no right to ban them for someone who isn't part of the family. My sisters and youngest brother think I am overreacting, and I could have instead warned them to behave and told them they would be removed if they couldn't do so. They think the ban is nuclear. My parents are demanding an invite and an apology. Am I the asshole? You are not the asshole in this situation. Your parents' refusal to accept Blake's marriage and their treatment of his wife, Shay, is unfair and could lead to alienating him from the family. Standing up for your brother and his wife shows your support for their relationship, even if it means setting boundaries with your parents. Am I the antagonist for refusing to cook for my family, despite cooking for myself and saying they deserve to go hungry? So I, 16 years old male, still live with my family obviously. I have chores just like my siblings. But something I do for fun and because I love and have a passion for it is cooking. I started cooking for myself 3 years ago. I had cooked before but nothing like the last 3 years. I enjoy making my own breakfast and dinner and even lunch if I have no school. My parents saw I was cooking more, and they added that to my list of chores because Mom said they didn't want to waste food, and Dad said it was rude to cook for only one person. And I didn't mind cooking for everyone, but they were so ungrateful, my siblings and parents alike. Complaints I got were, too spicy, wanted potatoes instead of rice, wanted rice instead of noodles, wanted beef instead of chicken, wanted something plain instead of spicy, wanted no veggies, wanted a more veggie-focused meal, wanted lasagna instead of pasta bake, didn't want soup, didn't want soup, didn't want soup, didn't want soup, didn't want something sweet, wanted something sweet, changed mind and wanted meat well done, wanted more kinds of potatoes, and the list goes on. None of this was constructive either. It was whining and complaining, and I did start out asking what I should do, but everyone wanted something different, and I'm still in school. I can't spend 6 hours cooking dinner on a school night so my siblings can have pizza, fries, nuggets, tacos, and my parents can have steak and potatoes and gravy and all the trimmings or none of the trimmings but 5 different kinds of potatoes. I even made a weekly meal plan for a while, and they wouldn't complain until after they ate it. I spoke to my family about the way they were behaving, and my mom told me that's the reality of cooking for a family. She said my siblings and dad had always been like that with her. I pointed out I hadn't been, and she just said that, and she said yeah, but it's part of life. I told her so she decided to treat me worse than I treated her, and she told me I was being difficult, and I told her no. She was taking everyone else's behavior out on me. A few times my dad or one of my siblings would say I wasn't a very good cook, and they hated eating my food. So I said I wouldn't cook anymore, and dad and mom would get pissed, and my siblings would call me lame. So I stopped cooking for them. I cook just for me again, and my parents are furious. They all come home hungry, and I have nothing ready for them. Not even my siblings. My parents told me it's disrespectful and I cannot continue, and I said they were all the disrespectful and ungrateful ones, shitting all over what I made for them. They told me I shouldn't be okay with letting them go hungry, and I said they all deserve to go hungry. My parents said it was a disgusting attitude, and they grounded me for 2 weeks. Am I the asshole? While it's admirable that you enjoy cooking for your family, it's important to establish boundaries and communicate openly about everyone's preferences. It's understandable to feel frustrated with the constant complaints, but it's also important to find a balance that respects everyone's needs and appreciates your efforts. Am I the antagonist for not including my mother-in-law in the birth of my child? I, 34 years old female, and my husband, 34 years old male, have always planned to have 2 kids, but last summer, when we were planning for him to have a vasectomy, we had a change of heart and decided that we were not done and wished for one more. We live in a different country from our parents and are raising the 2 children we already have by ourselves, 5 years old male and 3 years old female. My mother-in-law has always said that having a third would be an absolute horrible idea, irresponsible, and would be another grandchild she wouldn't get to spend much time with. We both have good stable jobs with promotion prospects, own our house, and as I said, we are raising our children with no support from family. We were lucky enough to get pregnant really quickly, and I am now a couple weeks away from having our 3rd child. When we told her we were expecting another kid, she was less than enthusiastic, said that she couldn't celebrate due to her concern about how we would manage, and that in the end, I always got my way. The whole pregnancy she hasn't called once asking about how I was doing, when my husband told her about any scans appointments, and the subject was quickly changed to something about herself. Now my mom, who is very happy about the 3rd grandchild, offered a while back to come and stay with us for 2 weeks to look after the children while I have the baby. I knew from the beginning that I would have to have a C-section. After getting the date, I messaged her, and 10 minutes later she sent me the plane tickets booked. Later that day, my husband called his mom and told her about the date of the C-section and that my mom was coming. She instantly became cold and ended the call. We were both confused. The next day, his sister called him saying that he had to apologize to his mom for the way he treated her. He spoke with his mom, and she said she wished she had been the first to know because she wanted to be included in the birth, and she wanted to see the baby first. She then told him that she had planned to come visit for 4 days around the baby's birth. This would involve my husband picking her up from the airport and dropping her at the airport, leaving me 3 postpartum looking after 3 children for 40 hours. My mom will take the train, 1.2 hours direct from the airport to 5 minutes from my house. I am being accused by mother-in-law and sister-in-law of being selfish and not thinking about including my mother-in-law. Am I the a-hole? You are definitely not the asshole in this situation. It's important to prioritize your well-being and the smooth transition of welcoming your new baby, especially considering your mother's thoughtful offer to help out. Your mother-in-law's expectations seem unreasonable, and it's okay to focus on what works best for you and your family during this special time. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.